Alright, welcome back, friends and fiends. We're going to jump in and do a little D&D session prep. If you've watched the channel before, you're going to know what this looks like. If it's your first time, well, welcome in. Love to have you. So we are going to do a little D&D session prep. If you've never run D&D before, or you're thinking about running D&D before, and you want to see how a different dungeon master maybe does that, we got that for you. So that is what we are going to do today. Me pull this up. Why do I need? Thank you. Log in. I'm already. All right, we're going for my ongoing campaign. Let's go ahead and pull session prep document. All right. Today we'll be working on session 39. How the time flies. Come on. Up tab. Go. And 39. We'll be dealing with session 38 first, which is the session I ran last week. Picking that up. Even that was 17th. Right. So. Second, I'm about to throw you guys over. Don't worry. Not just my beautiful thing. Alright. I'm gonna throw us over. And here we go, here we go. Oh, there we go. Haha, we've done it. We'll, you can go a little bit lower, I think. Nice and easy for you guys. So again, if you guys have any questions while we go through this, jump in and let me know. Otherwise, urge to talk about it. So this will be session 39. It will in fact be just, that's not right at all. That's not the day of the week it is. I don't think. No, it is. It is. Never mind. I'm contradicting. And Thursday and Thursday. But the first thing we're going to do is type out our session recap from last time. We got a few things in our last session, so we are going to knock those out. So I'm just going to send over and which we're about to look at anyway. That looks like now it's gonna be a little darker in here. Trying to keep it a little trying to get hot. Summer days, especially on these summer afternoons. Trying to keep the lights a little bit lower than usual. Lock out some. But let's go ahead. This is a working session. Anytime that I do a working session, I like to provide my own music. So I'm going to be listening to some music on my own. So I'm going to stop that music. If you want to check out the music, I'm using a Tabletop audio. Oh, Tabletop audio over there on the left. Great stuff. Go grab it. Tabletopaudio.com. Lots of cool stuff. A little search filter. Build your own playlist. You can actually save your playlists and use them later with links, which is really cool. So if you want to do one for different types of sessions and then have them saved, and then you can re-upload them on the website and it will repopulate. I really like that. But today we're going to be listening to, or at least I'm going to be listening to, in case you want to listen, Madrigals and Frostguard, Even Fall over Erin Gallen. So it'll be this. I haven't listened to it before, so this one's going to be new for me. So we're going to check that out. After that, we've got some Escape Vaporwave. We've got High Tide, a Mallsoft Vaporwave mix, and Mischievous Kiffer, Cybersynth and Synthwave. I've been trying to get into more of their stuff. It's stuff that I listened to a while ago. They have really good mixes. Been dropping back into it. So I'm going to go ahead and start that for myself. Let's go back over here. Like I said, every time that I do this, what I want to do is I put a little recap down here. I like to recap it. Ow. There we go. We're going to do a little recap of things that actually happened in the session. So that allows me to look at things that I planned, things that actually ended up happening. Not always the same. In fact, they are rarely one-to-one. But bear with me as we get stuff done. If you're not familiar with my prep process, let me tell you a little bit about the prep process. The prep process kind of goes like that. At the end of the session, this is where the prep process starts. At the end of each session of D&D, I try to get confirmed with my players what they are going to do next. So that way, if they have a concrete intent and direction as to where they're going, it goes from me having to feel like I have to prep every possible thing that could happen in the world to be like, okay, you guys have chosen a path, and now we can prep things along that path. And that makes life a lot simpler for me. Especially when I run a very kind of sandboxy game where it's like, they could go anywhere at any time. So them telling me where they're going to go helps a lot. After the session, generally, whenever I get home, because I play at a friend's house, whenever I get home, I make a recap about as soon as I can. Generally, I just write it down in my notepad with all my notes. Just trying to get everything while it's still fresh in my mind onto a page of paper. And then I usually don't think about it for very much. So I did that Friday evening when I got home, wrote all that down. It's now Tuesday, and now I'm going to transcribe it. So basically, I have my notes, I write my notes down, then I'm going to read and write my notes again, so now they're nice and fresh before I start to prep stuff. So what do we have? All right, yep. So Ash attempts a fiction ritual. With the rain. And is tipped off about a locus of power that's by. And we know that to be power stones. I know that to be the power stones. They don't know it's the power stones. They haven't been there yet. And they haven't talked to anybody about it. Oh, yeah. This is actually not the first time they felt that locus of power. Further away, and it was in Dassos. It was the village they were in right before they got to Bayfaras. Bayfara is like a... Bay is a title, Farah is a person. They're like a... What's the easiest way to do it? I guess. They're not quite a baron, but they're like a low-level nobility title. In this area of the world. Let's see, the group names. Group names the donkey. We had a classic thing where the NPC asks them what the name of their donkey is, and two people answer separately, and so they just made that the name. So we have donkey's name is Jack Buttercup, aka JB. JB the donkey. Good, like to get that down. The donkey is currently resting in the stable of Bayfaras. And the group proceeds to split up. So they have a day of kind of doing whatever they want. This is their little respite day. They have time to recuperate. Primarily, this is so one of our player characters who has 2 levels of exhaustion still has an ability to try to get some of that off. Try to shake some of that off. And while they do that, it gives the other 2 time to do it. And don't worry, I didn't just be like, and now you sit in the corner for the session. And that player got to do stuff. But as usual, anytime this player group, for whatever reason, this player group is like this, they are prompted with what they want to do. They immediately scatter like cockroaches in all different directions. So nobody goes in the same direction, and everybody has decided to go off and do their own thing. So let's see. That's right. Salma. I did Sarnak. Some sleepy time tea. Help overcome extra exhaustion. On say. So Sarnak asked for this one thing in the previous session, but like, oh, can I get something that will help me because they have 2 levels of exhaustion? If you don't know how the exhaustion works, that means that You only get to lose 1 level per long rest. Well, they probably want to leave soon, so it's instead of having 2 days where they're sitting around waiting for this other PC to companion to be ready to go, try to make that 1 day. So they got this tea that's going to help them as long as they get bed rest all day. They have the ability to make a new Constitution saving throw. If they pass that con save, they get to write off an extra level of exhaustion, which they do. Is successful. Huzzah! After that, Ash get some money from Zarnak and go shopping at the market day. There's a market day happening. Market day to buy a couple of healing potions and some Shiari powder. Just in case. Shiari powder is a thing that custom item I came up with. It kind of works like coffee, or that's kind of how it's discussed or kind of shown. So, look at this. A little bit of that, and the way that this works mechanically is it's a custom, not magic item, but magic item. Where if you and your group brew this up and take it pretty much like at a short rest because it takes time to brew and drink and all that stuff. But 1 dose will do the entire group. And if you drink it, you get the effects of the alert feat from 2014, which gives you a bunch of things like you can't be surprised and you get advantage on initiative checks, I think, and some other stuff. It was a really, really good one. And it's real easy for them to pick up. So this is like the 3rd bundle of it, I think, that they picked up. So it is a nice low-level way to get a little edge. And the effects of that last until their next rest or long rest. Let's see. Get the Shiari powder. Oh, yeah. The herbalist firms they sold the item Donda pretty recently. Donda is, I think this is the first time that NPC has recurred. So it was very, very early on in the campaign. They came across a Warforged automaton who was a perfumer, as in a person who makes perfume. And they found Donda stuck in like quicksand and pulled him out. And they knew that he was going back north to a place. They just recently have ran into somebody who has met Tonda. They know Tonda is, or at least was, recently close nearby. Seeking, let's see. Seeking a memento, yeah, I guess a souvenir. Near the location, Caleb is pushed to Blusher's Caravan, which is a traveling brothel. Up here, the Blusher's Caravan. Checking out nearby rumors of I always want to say pegasi in the area and want to acquire their hair for makeup brushes. It's very funny because Caleb is our cleric, our priestly cleric, and having him push towards the prostitutes makes for an enjoyable little interlude. He passes on that. And doesn't really get anything else out of that interaction. Don't worry, they're going to go back to him. Ash, over here's a scruffy Haffer. That here. Every time. Haffer into Halter. Haffer is part of the custom world setting. I'm basically taking gnomes and halflings and Sverknublen and any of those kind of shorter ancestries and just kind of conglomerated them all into one thing. Mechanically, you can choose any one of them and they all work this as normal, but within the world setting, they're all referred to as Haffer. arguing with the locksmith and wondering about chancery as they stomp off in the rain. It's also raining like cats and dogs. Learn a little bit about that. Ash talks to who's in group. Ends up not talking to the smith. Sala. Who's a half orc. Trinket stealer. I should say peddler. And purchases a witching wand to help them find / follow kind of like ley lines of power. That's something they picked up. Also notes on in the area being searched for Blusher's caravan. Additionally, leaders are known inhabiting the woods. I think it's northeast. Their location. That's the Pegasi Grove. That's about it. Zarnok is visited by the guard captain. Thanks Z for all his help and provides about petrified people, cave effers, the area, hunting cockatrice or cockatrice, depending on however you feel like that should be said. Heard it both. I don't really care either way. So that's it. Agree to a spar rematch. They sparred previously. All right. Zarnik knows that Christ is a bit we'll just say is a delicate. His family's up. Quick note: if this is your first time and you don't know anything about any of these characters, we can explain who they are. Ash is a elf druid. Have Caleb, who is a human, not a human. Human presenting, let's put it that way. Human presenting cleric, and Zarnok is a Thorid, which is like Halfer. Thorid is we take all the scaly kind of ancestries and throw them into one bin, but he is otherwise a dragonborn fighter, great weapon fighter. As far as their backgrounds, Ash is a windwalker, which is sort of like a rover Romani kind of thing. It kind of works on it. They're like semi-pastoral kind of people. He is very far from home. They're from a different continent. You have Caleb, who has a bit of amnesia as his backstory, and he's trying to piece that together slowly throughout the campaign, and has learned a little bit. And as Salma, who is working here, who is one of the Bosch, he is an acolyte, and she is working on trying to do a little bit of research for him. And Zarnok's background is that he is a slave soldier, and he is out on sort of this petition thing. After a while, they are given the ability to earn their freedom in the mercenary group that he's in by basically going out. They have a nice long list, and it's like, if you get 100 signatures about people that sign off to be like, this is the way that this person helped me, and how they've done good work for the Grey Wolves, which is the name of the mercenary group. If they come back with that and complete that, then they have the ability they earn their freedom. And then basically they're kind of given a commission within the mercenary group if they want it. So that is Zarnok's family. His family sold him into slavery in a very financial, necessary kind of way. So, conflicted feelings about how we feel about family with Zarnok, for sure. All right. Oh yeah, Ash and Caleb. Caleb return the blushers. Out the side quest. There was a recurring thing where Caleb, in character, we've decided that Caleb does not know that it's pegasi and keeps saying Pegasuses. Everybody goes, actually, it's pegasi. It's a very silly little thing. There's a lot of shenanigans that happen around the Blushers Caravan. None of it's particularly important. But they should soon. They should put, and others, are rivals of Pearl, and they do not like her. Now, Pearl is a courtesan that the group already knows, a very influential courtesan back in Pale, and kind of like the major town. And so everybody these people are like, well, because of that, like, one person's kind of locked down that area for like high class stuff, high class companionship, we'll say, that they have to make do kind of like traveling around the island, and they can't make as much money because they're kind of locked out of the port town. So obviously they do not have friendly relations with Pearl. And let's see. Right, the group. Oh my goodness. Group returns to the keep. Really, the palace. That's fine. We're not gonna get it. For their evening meal. And meet with Charles Rogel. He gets the download on info. They discuss terms and learn his Chuck's abilities. So they picked up they had asked in the previous session that they were, because we had lost a player in the campaign, so we went from having 4 players, now we're down to 3 players in the campaign, which I'm preferable to. I think the best campaigns that I have both run and played in have all generally had 3 players in it. I don't know why that is. It just seems to be the case. It's just a little bit snappier than having 4 players. It also means that there's generally a role that goes unfulfilled, which makes things actually easier rather than harder for a dungeon master. Because there's always a way to be like, oh, there's always some spot that they're not covering. Like for the current group, we have a druid, a cleric, and a fighter, which means they have no arcane support whatsoever. So if I need something to challenge them with, all I got to do is throw arcane style problems at them, and that will be very difficult for them. But also, if I want to make things very easy on them, all I have to do is not throw arcane stuff at them. I can throw plenty of undead or natural stuff or just dudes with blades and armor, and they'll be able to deal with that very easily. So they learn Chuck's abilities. Chuck is a fighter as well, or technically he's a warrior sidekick from a recently ousted from a very popular mercenary guild in the world, the most popular mercenary guild or free company in the world, custom setting, the Bloody Heather. So they've agreed to his terms and everything, and they learn his abilities. Ash and Charles head back to the Blushers for team building activities. We're gonna put big quotation marks on team building activities. So they head back for a night of companionship and fun. And Zarnik does a spar with the captain. Captain, he pretty much exhausts himself. We just did a nice like 3-roll little skill challenge of attack rolls and being like, and had all my friends table roll for him as well. Great on the first one, did pretty well on the second one. On the third one, they met even. So I was like, you feel really great. You're coming out of the gate strong because you've rested all day, but you feel like your energy reserves are so low that you're immediately kind of flagging here within like 30 seconds of fighting, and you feel tired. So we have Caleb and Zarnak. Go to sleep. Well, I guess before that, Caleb is asleep. Speaks with Salma, who is heading off to the Blusher's caravan herself. And we discussed like the Blusher's caravan, where it's kind of turned into like this impromptu beer garden kind of situation where people had brought like chairs and tables out and kind of making an evening of it. It's kind of a little bit of kind of got a block party kind of vibe to it as people are hanging out there. And let's see. All right. It's off to Ifera to I guess technically her study. Pegasi research. So he reads up a little bit on the Pegasi. Everybody else is kind of doing stuff. And then they go to bed. And the other two are coming back drunk. But we will pass that here in a second. In the night, we got some antics going. I guess I could put the notes about Caleb's trade. That'd be helpful for me to know later. So, donkeys are soothing. So I told them, is like, look, you know a few things about them. They understand language, but they can't speak it. Donkeys are soothing just in the same way that they are to horses. Extremely flighty. Get it? Because they have wings. And have a predisposition merchants. At which point we we realized that, hey, nobody in the party is a virgin. party fucks. Yeah, two are actively not, are in the process of being not virgins. One of them is very clearly not a virgin. Actually, all of them, I guess, at this point have alluded in character that they have had sex, like actively as part of the campaign. It's not that weird. There was like a fertility festival thing that they were a part of not that long ago. And then the rest of the party went to the prostitute caravan. So it's not that kind of game. We're not RPing sex with the homies. We're just part of it. It's just part of. I just wanted to make sure that it felt like, especially as American, in sort of our backgrounds, as far as conservative attitudes towards sex, to be like, this is not like that place. This is not like the place we live in. This is a place where, oh my gosh. And so it's like that. People don't think about it all. All right. Oh yeah, Zarnak's awakened. The shenanigans is awakened by clinging outside the window. Checks outside to see a scruffy heifer, not halter, heifer, with a grappling hook. And the window above him open. So it's very clear that they were trying to get in that window. Calls for the guards. And technically he goes for the guards. Guards. Just as Chuck and a quite drunk Ash, and let him make Constitution saves for how swifty they got. Ash, go back up. Which, I mean, we could really kind of cut to the chase. There's a lot of chasing around the heifer, who runs to the keep. Again, they're sleeping in the palace, not the keep. It's a medieval thing. Don't worry about it. Palace just means like the nice place where everybody lives, not like Versailles. It's a house, essentially, a big house. And then like the keep is like a fortified tower meant primarily for combat. So he's running to the keep. Up the stairs, chased by Zarnak, Charles, Ash in horse form, and some guards. Played by Caleb's character. Caleb's player. Meanwhile, Caleb sleeps. He failed all his perception checks. Did not wake up despite everything that was going on. And this is one thing I do because my group tends to split up all the time, is that I try to use those opportunities to have my players play as NPCs within the world. So that player, I was like, all right, well, you're running these two guards who are also chasing this person. So that way, me as the DM, I really only have to run the one dude and tell you about like what's going on with the scenes as you move through them. We pretty much find Heifer at the donjon, which is the tallest part of the tower. He can make outs with with a Rapunzel. So like political word. So it's got a very melodramatic Romeo and Juliet. Romeo and Juliet feel. Yeah. And that's all they got from the interaction. There's more stuff going on there, but it's kind of late in the session. It's not important stuff, but this was pretty much like, oh, I wanted to do something like fun, which was other than them just walking around. Like, here's some silly shenanigans to do. That way they could do some silly stuff right before, because we were doing pretty serious stuff. This is like our nice little palate cleanser, and then we're gonna go right back into more serious stuff. Morning comes. And group heads off. Search Pegasi Grove. That was the session. So, despite it being kind of a 5-footer, like didn't really go or do anything important, but it was a fun session. We hit most of this stuff. I had down here. They found they didn't clock the Darrow yet. They haven't really looked at it. That was our scruffy, halfer-looking person. We did not get about the Wabanekis. We didn't talk about the Power Stones. We did talk about the automaton. And we did talk about the Satyr encampment and the pegasi. And because did not speak with the blacksmith, did not learn about that stuff. Just got a little bit about the chancery. And Charles Rogel arrives, did all this. They agreed to these terms, which I thought was crazy. I figured that they were definitely going to push back on it. Because Charles Rogel about to be a rich dude. He makes 8 gold a day. Plus, he gets a 10% jobber's cut of any loot. So he gets 10% of any loot, and then they can split it up however they want. This is pretty common as to how I kind of run hirelings. Because it's their, what kind of labor do they provide? Are they providing their own tools? Are they providing private kit, or are you providing kit? If they're providing kit, they get paid more. And is the stuff they're going to do dangerous? Then they also get paid more. If you're hiring him to go on an adventure with you, that's going to be dangerous. Gets more. And then he gets a cut of any of the loot because he has been used as like an adventure party member. Whereas if they were hiring like porters or something to like take stuff from one place to another, there wouldn't be a jobber's cut. We did the sneak thief, yeah. But we did not learn about the stuff that's about the Chancery books. And he was trying to get in through the private bath window, but wasn't successful. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab this Travel to Blighted Grove, because I've already rolled for this. So we're going to take this and we're going to shop this over to Session 39, because we're just going to take that and move it. Injuries. Nobody has exhaustion anymore. Everybody's good on injuries. Charles is at 11. Steve. It's very funny that he has the lowest con score of everybody. And then I'm not going to worry about his stuff. He gets money, he pays for his own stuff. He'll be fine. One of those issues is like, do you want me to track this? If we track this stuff, then it can run out. If not, I'm fine with just being like, you assume that the NPCs are competent and take care of themselves. I did this when they had guides and stuff that they were taking into dungeons, and they had NPCs in dungeons with them. It's like, do you want the NPCs to fight with you? Because if they fight with you, they'll roll into initiative. Now, just letting you know, most of these guys are not really fighters. They're not really like class level kind of people. So there's a good likelihood that they will die or run away. One of the two. I was like, hey, letting you know, if we roll initiative for them, I'll put them into the initiative, but they also become a target for attacks. And they don't have a lot of hit points. They're not PCs. Alright, so we are going to do but we're not going to Blighted Grove. We're going to pegasi. I'm good with that. Nah, you know what? Let's roll a DC. Why not? 3d6, let's do it. Oh. Not much better. That's just a DC 10. But I'll take it. I'll take a DC 10. I'll take a DC 10 all day. I do change that, though, because that is not the terrain they're going to be. So they are headed. This was definitely a session. They asked a lot of questions about stuff that was in the area. I didn't realize that I was going to need to pull out the map, little hex map that I have, and take a look at it. We have a digital version of this hex map, but I just need to kind of know. It's not going to be fulfilling. Both which are relative. Quite close. So this can be March. Okay. Yeah, I think that's right. I don't think there's really... mainly one. They're like in the inlet area of the island, with part of the island. So they're... you know what? I'll roll for them. They decided to not take the donkey with them, so they're just going to be hoofing it on foot. Hoofing it, but they don't have the... Funny. Alright, well, I think we just need... to, I don't know, what do we want to call this? Like inlet area? This is kind of a marshy area, but it's also got a lot of other stuff that's kind of going on. It is one of the things that I've happened with it that I might want to adjust them. I need to adjust. I think I need to adjust what symbol I use on the hex maps for these areas, because it often just kind of looks like there's a bunch of marsh there. But that's not really representative of what it is. It's like a whole bunch of like shoals and coral and all sorts of stuff. It's like a very much like the coastal shelf, very shallow sea kind of area. So there's a whole bunch of like lagoons and stuff like that. Lots of barrier islands and stuff. But we'll just say coastal marsh. And we are going to be... how do I want to do this? Search for the pegasi. Alright, so there's a grove that they know here. Technically it's full. So I want to come up with some sort of mechanic for that to happen. So this feels pretty skill challenging. Now they actually have somebody who has survival and stuff, but strangely the druid not trained in nature, which I thought was just a thing that you automatically get trained for when you're a druid, but apparently not. Apparently you have the choice to do that, and they did not take that choice because they took survival, which very early in the campaign, they got lost in the jungle a number of times, and they really struggled like getting through the jungle because they didn't have anybody in the group that had survival. And they did not take a guide with them. They have since learned to be like, hey, if you're going in these places, if you don't have somebody who has really good survival, you might want to take a guide with you. You can make sure that who knows the local area and take you around. Then it's your part is like you then also have to protect that person so they don't die and you don't get lost again. Okay, so they need to search for the pegasi pool. Let's do it this way. So it's going to be like the... search area, and I'm actually gonna make this We're gonna do just. And that's gonna be travel. Yeah, I get short. My document, I can do whatever. So I think this is gonna be like a classic. I guess I should make it an effort. Typically, when I do these things, I like to make them effort based rather than full skill challenge based, just because what happens if they fail and they don't meet it and so they don't find the search area? Is that fun? Probably not. So it's like, okay, well, I want them to get there because I want them to get something from the action that they are trying to do. They might not get the full meal deal of what they're trying to do, but maybe if I do it that way. So I think, how do we want to grok them? We can go leave that. So I want them to kind of like search through this area to find it. I don't really need to come up with. I need to come up with the DCs, which is gonna be a DC 10 because that's what we're. I use these nice theme-based DCs. Like, okay, everything in here is generally gonna be DC 10. If it's really easy, it'll be like 7 or so. And if it's a little bit more difficult, it'll be like a DC. But generally, this should not be a very difficult challenge. So they need something to look for. So I want this to be. Let me make this. Alright. What I need to do, before I even do the obstacles, I need to come up with what happens if they fail. And what happens if they succeed. Let's do that. Death. Fail. We'll just be pass. If they pass, what happens if they fail? So they're going to get there either way, so that's not really the thing. So what happens if they don't get there? Sometimes it's in time. Or sometimes that means that there's some sort of encounter that they otherwise wouldn't have to deal with. Well, I like that. We could do that. I don't really have a strong opinion one way or the other, so I'm just going to roll an oracle die. Nice d20. If I roll high, the answer is yes. If I roll low, the answer is no. Do they have some sort of random encounter, like a random combat encounter, if they fail this? No, not at all. Ones, generally we would infer that as like no and something else. So they're going to miss that. Now, currently, my original thought is like if they miss that, they miss the pegasi in total. But that would be probably. I got nice. All right, so we've got a pass. So I want to do this at 3. So uh, pass plus. What if they do really good? What if they do okay? What if they fail? We know that there are other people in the that there are the blushers who are actively trying to get these here, which means that there's chance that there are other adventurers who are also trying to accomplish this task to try to get that money. So we could go with, oh well, if they don't make it there in time, they don't have the combat. That means to me that the combat has already happened. So if they fail here, I think that they have, you know, butchered or chased off. I guess Ooh, maybe they captured them? When in doubt, I don't have to think about this. Let me roll a die. Do they capture them? No, they don't capture them. Alright, so they're gonna cut them. And I guess we just asked, do they kill them? No, okay, so they've shorn them, I guess. Uh, We've captured and shorn them. We'll go captured, shorn. And there's still going to be something for them there, even if they fail that. And still have opportunity. Select, let's say, sacred water. I guess so if they pass, then that's when the combat happens. Come upon as adventurers are capturing a, I guess, a Pegasus. Question. There are a bunch of these people? Excellent. I like that. Shear. Because remember that they want the the mane and the tail. They want the hair from the brushes. And so, if they do really well, they're going to get there first. For the opposition. I would say other. Great. So now all we need is some stuff for them to do. Things that are in the way. Now, if my druthers, I'd probably make like a nice big maze kind of thing, because I do that sometimes where it's like a point and crawl maze kind of thing to find the area that I'm looking for. I don't want this to take up that much time, because that could easily be an entire session, or definitely into a second session if I wanted it to be. This is kind of this is important, but them getting there would be easy for them. I want the focus more to be about like dealing with the pegasi than finding them. That's just a hiccup on the way. Hey, how you doing, Seachman? I don't mind me asking, is this Notion? No, this is just a Google Doc. It is just a Google Doc. That's all. It's real low tech. So yeah, I think that's it. So let's come up with some things what to throw at them. 3 challenges sounds relatively nice to me. We could mix it up a little bit if we wanted to. So let's do that. All right, so that's encounter. I like that. All right, so we're gonna go with X hot. Counter 1. I love it. I know that I'm getting in the deep in the weeds with stuff that I do for my own. So I'm rolling a d6. 1 to 2 means that there is nothing there. 3 to 4 means that there's a hot. That's a hazard, obstacle, trick, or trap that's going to be there. And a 5 or 6 means there's some sort of creature encounter that's there. So if I roll 2 dice and I get to mix them up. So that's, we just rolled 2 HOTTs, 2 hots, which means it's either going to be 2 separate things that are happening or 1 big thing that's going to happen. They get to deal with on the way here. Right, so then we got a hot and a creature. This is the same way that I use for stocking dungeons, except usually I deal with treasure in those. And we could... Treasure's not really important for this one, though. What they're doing. Treasure might be something they find in the scene. And then just another creature encounter. Okay, I like that. So those are our 3 kind of scenes, if you want to. You're just lurking and taking notes. Oh, you're a newer DM. Yeah. So, yeah, hopefully this will be useful. This is just one person's way of how they prep for games. kind of coming up with stuff. We're right in the smack middle of the campaign. Like I said, this is session 39. So, and actually, we're doing it for this Friday. So what? 24th. 24th. I should probably go ahead and put old Shuck up here as well. Oh, not that I need this, but I'll in here. Hey, by the way, that's an NPC. So I'm not confused. I don't know why I'd be confused. He's my NPC, but just in case. Or if I was looking at this after I've run this campaign, trying to remember who that was. All right, so we need a hazard obstacle, trick, or trap. I'm going to grab my handy DM's binder number 1, as I know that I have trap and hazard table in here I can do. Let's ask an oracle question. I could see this being one of these being a trap because we know that the people are trying to capture the pegasi. But I could also very much see it as a hazard or obstacle. So I'll roll twice and ask, is this a trap? And I think that that's somewhat unlikely, so I'm going to say -3. That's a no, and that's a yes. And it doesn't get any higher than that. Okay, so we're gonna have a hazard and a trap here. It'll be easy enough for us to do. This is a D20 improvised hazard, so I'm going to roll twice on this. This is how I usually like to use tables. If you have a table that has like hazards or whatever on it, and you want to keep it fresh, my advice to you is roll twice on that table and see if you can throw those things together. You can throw the results together. So I got a 6, which is a flooded chamber, so a flooded area. Okay, so there's going to be like some sort of float, or like that could be a classic quicksand situation. I like that. They've come across quicksand before, so it's not going to be a stranger to them. They had to pull Tonda out of it, so they're good with that. I should know that that is a hazard in the area. Ooh, and 13 is a disease. I like that, so maybe there's some sort of like, oh, like it's putrefied, like it's real bad water. Almost it can't really be boggy. Yeah, there's like a bunch of like scum and detritus on it. I like that. So maybe there was like just a furry sort of like algae mold growth across the top of it. So they don't even recognize that it's water until they step into it and kind of dropped into it over their head. They intake some of that water because they accidentally breathe it because they weren't expecting to drop into water. And weird thing that people do when we accidentally fall into water. This is especially if you do like things like cold plunge. You'll know about this. Is that one of our immediate reactions to that sort of sensation is to open our mouths, which is not great because then a whole bunch of water goes in your mouth and you can't breathe. People end up swallowing a bunch of water, really hurt themselves doing that. I like that. Okay, so there's going to be, we're going to have an area. Okay, these are just a little bit of notes. I'll probably clean this up later, but let's kind of get through the meat, I think. All right, so jumped over Arian Bright Bank. Dropping in. It's difficult to get through. Void. We'll say it's deceptive. Deceptive. To avoid. And getting into it is a con save. Disease is a very interesting thing because we don't have a ton of support for diseases in 5 and 5.5. There's only a handful of actual disease system uses, and they are very specific. So I think what I'm going to do is we're going to have to roll for a trap here, I think. But Let's roll on the trap table, which is D12. And I like using this table. See if I can throw these things together. 4, because I have a lot of different traps. Okay, so I might have to re-roll 11 because 11's teleportation. That won't work. 4 is murder, so kill, which will definitely work. So let's re-roll. All right, 2 is detainment. So that seems like something that's going to take an immediate hit to an immediate hit point hit, and detainment or traps feels like maybe it gives you the slowed canoe, which sucks because we're doing a lot of hex crawling, which means that your speed is slow, which means it takes twice as long to get places. Or they're going to be basically hustling. So I think I'm going to swap that. I'll be like, oh, the first thing is if you fails that is that you get lethargy. You're going to be really slowed down. And then at rest after that, every time that you're resting after that, if you, I don't know, I guess fail the con save again, you'll take like a hit dies worth of damage. Sounds fine to me. They'll be respective for each. So let's say if it's our fighter that fails, they get to roll 1d10 plus 2 because that's their con modifier. They fail it, that's how much damage they'll take. So if they take a short rest, they'll take that damage. They can then spend hit dice to recover that damage plus anything else, normal short rest rules. And if they don't pass it, then next time they take their next short rest, and they'll keep taking it on rest until they save out of it. Because they just kind of like, this putrid water is just kind of like, oh, look at them feel bad. So untyped disease, I like it. It will work very easily. Slowed. On fail. Slowed. And each short/long rest. Save or take die plus con mod die plus con mod damage. Like this is and save both effects in. And we do have people now that do healing magic, or if they had some sort of lesser restoration, I would allow them to use lesser restoration or something like that. That'll give them the ability to kick out of this. No, I don't think lesser restoration actually disease. I think that's actually a greater restoration. You know what? I don't know. One sec. In one disease or condition affecting you. There you go. So the answer is yes. It does. Alright, then we just need to know the need just a little name for this. And we'll call this the should we call it scum? Scum skin. Alright, that's perfect. That's one. I guess we should just call this area or pool. We'll just give this a little bolt. Like I said, I'll clean this up probably later this week, but get the stuff out of the way. Alright, now we need a hazard obstacle or trap and a creature. I think this is more likely to be a trap because there's a creature involved. Is it a trap? Yes. No. Alright, 8, but we're adding 3 because I think it's likely to make that an 11, which is a yes. Alright, so that is going to be some sort of trap. Question about these creatures. Are these some of the rival adventurers? Maybe. Okay. There's some rival adventurers who are also after the pegasi who have laid a trap. That makes sense to me. Let's roll for 2d12. Kind of a trap. Maybe they've left here. 5 and 6. Ooh, nice. These will be useful. So 5 is a resource eater. That means that it's something that eats like hit dies. I like to do traps that don't do just straight up damage. I think that that's really boring. I think that's why a lot of people don't like traps in D&D. They're really boring. So having traps that do something else other than HP damage can be helpful. So a resource eater does things like, instead of dealing direct damage to you, it'll be like you lose 1 or 2 hit die, or you lose a spell slot, or you eat your gold if it's a magical trap or something like that, which this might be. And then 6 is some sort of harmer, so it gives you a condition, exhaustion, some sort of stat damage, so damage to your ability scores, temporary. Yeah, I like that. I think I might just go with kind of like a basic bear trap, and so that way the stat damage can obviously be to dexterity. It makes you a little less nimble if you get caught in one of those things. And the resource eater, some resource out of that. That one's gonna be a little bit difficult because I don't think this is a magical trap. Is this a magical trap? Question mark? No, not at all. It's the most mundane trap that's ever mundane. All right, so yeah, we're gonna go with bear trap. Then I guess we'll just go with harmer. I don't really have a good resource eater they would eat from that I can think of off the top of my head, other than maybe it just requires such a substantial strength check to undo. It's meant to hold a horse, so a flying horse at that. Maybe. But we know it's mundane, so it's not magical anyway. Oh well. I think I'm overthinking it. That can happen very easily. So I think we're going to go with a classic bear trap. Bear trap ambush. We're going to have some people waiting for this. All right. So let's get some dudes. It's gonna be like probably a. All right. So we got 4 of these guys. They are level 3. Make sure that we are using. Yeah, I don't want to use the 2024 settings. If I use the 2024 rule settings, I will nuke my party. I make generally pretty difficult encounters, so I don't need to worry about that. Let's go for humanoids. I assume that's good. None of these guys really make sense. We just kind of need dudes. Maybe this tribal warrior. Not very many of them though. Not that I necessarily need this to be a drag out fight. This feels like I didn't. Did I? Yeah. Apparently our party can handle up to 15 tribal warriors, which seems excessive. Where's the best way to do that? We could do like I could do 2d8 minus 1. That would work. Let's see what that gives us. Well, it would give us 14, which is a little bit higher than I want. I'm going to roll those again. Maybe. And that's a little lower. All right, well, let's swap it around. How many of these guys can get up to 15? I'm trying to think of dice notations. Do 3d4. We do 44 minus 1. That's maybe a little bit better. It's going to give us a much more even kind of spread. So 10 of these guys. 10 still a lot. Helps if I decide. That would be a full up medium encounter. These guys should get smoked pretty easily. So anytime I do this, anytime that you're building like a D&D encounter, whenever possible, try to use more than one creature type. That will be helpful. Let's give them a little bit of a leader. If we give them a leader, then that allows us to reduce how many they fight. Because anytime you really don't want to do more than 2 times the number of characters there are. So that would be 8. So we really want less than 8. The best way to do that is to give us like one guy who's in charge. Ooh, a hobgoblin's a good one. Just a good basic enemy to try to have in there. We wanted a medium. Well, now if I push it over, how? Not much better, honestly. Make life easier on myself. Okay. This is gonna be a medium encounter. 6, 7. Let's do 7. I don't want it to be like super hard. Like I don't want this to take a ton of time. I guess no. 1 and 6 is good enough. 1 and 6 would be good. I feel like one hobgoblin. Warrior. Oh, what is that site? It is Kobold Plus Fight Club. It is koboldplus.club. That's the website. It's an encounter builder website. It works pretty well. If you go to the settings here, you can adjust different types of encounter rules, which I would highly recommend, depending on how you structure your game. I find if I use the 2024 rules, and we can convert this to a 2024 rules real quick. Right. According to the 2024 rules, this is a trivial encounter. I will tell you, if I put 7 creatures on the board in an ambush situation against these players, they're probably going to hurt them. It certainly won't be a trivial style encounter, plus the trap that's already going to be in there. So I am fine keeping the 2014. Because of 2024, one of the big things they changed in the encounter builder is there's no longer a multiplier for the number of creatures that are in a combat. So just an example of why I don't like these rules, we can really just push this up to the max. So if I wanted to make this what I consider anyways, basically right under deadly, which is oftentimes what I'm aiming for in a true combat encounter, a truly tough combat encounter. Well, according to this, we should be fighting. Yeah. Okay. So according to the new math, my party should be able to fight, and yeah, it feels deadly, but they should definitely be able to take it out. 1 hobgoblin and 91 8th CR tribal warriors. I will tell you, these guys will nuke a party of 4th level. Or sorry, 3rd level. That's insane. I don't know why they redid the math. It does not work. It does not work at all. We're at 6. Those facts. We're going to do 1 hobgoblin and 6 tribal warriors. I like that. 1 hobgoblin. And this is going to be a reskin. It's not going to be an actual hobgoblin. Well, it could be. 6 tribal warriors. We could have also gone for a giant or some giant kin if we wanted to, but me. In fact, I might reskin the hobgoblin as being a giant kin, which is more like a Furbolg or Goliath, the setting. Giant kin. And maybe they'll have some tribal warriors, might be some hill folk with them. In ambush. So they're going to have a bear trap. I guess they're going to need some sort of bait. Would be good bait for Pegasus. That's a good question. I don't have a lock stock answer for. When in doubt, I'm gonna roll on. You at chart R. Table is the free solo dark table from Shadow Dark. Pick it up. So 38 and 90. 38 would be pull. Pull order. Pull order. That makes me think like they have like a animal call, like they have like a horse call kind of thing. So they've got somebody who's making the equivalent of like bird sounds, like a duck call, but they have it for pegasi apparently. And so that's what they are using to. Let's say, and maybe some musk. Probably horse. That gives us a reason as to why our PCs might stumble across this place. They might hear the Pegasus call and start heading in that direction. In case my druid decides to wild shape, if they do that, they're going to be able to. They'll probably switch over to something that's got something like keen senses. If they have keen senses, they'll be able to pick up that musk. And because they have, obviously probably not smelled Pegasus before, they might interpret horse musk as Pegasus. Because horse musk they will be familiar with. And so interpret that as being close to what they're looking for and head in that way. If they do, bear trap gets them. So of course this will be a hidden bear trap. And if it gets hit, what did we say? We were going to give them some sort of condition. 5e can again. I don't know why I'm going here. I can look at Handy dandy DM's binder. Friend grapple. I mean, grappled is kind of the more important thing, but that's not like a long-term thing. Oh yeah, because we were gonna do some that damage. Right. So they'll be grappled. Which all grapple means as a condition is their speed is reduced to 0, so they can't move. Because, they're in a bear trap. And take play, I guess a d4. Right, what does a shadow do? Shadow's the creature I can think of. It's well known for doing stat damage at low levels. Show them to me. Show them to me. Amorphous, Shadow Stealth, something like that. Strength Drain. 2d6 of this strength. Reduced by 1d4. Okay. That's a. This is the new one? This is the old one. I don't even remember them doing damage. That's a lot of damage. Talking about 5e balance. Shadow is a CR1 creature. Sorry, it's a CR half creature. Meaning that you can throw these at a first level party, and the creature on a hit does, on average, 9 points of damage. These guys have a reputation for killing low level parties, for obvious reasons. Because in addition to that, they also do stat damage. If you get your strength score or any ability score reduced to 0, you die as well. You like die. It's not good. Yeah, target dies if reduced to 0 hit points. Less stealth as target finishes a short or long rest. We'll keep that aspect. They'll take a d4 dex damage. So it makes them, getting caught in the trap makes it difficult for them, but if they take a short rest, they will be able to get some of that back. This is a pretty dex-heavy party, as in they're pretty dexterous. I think only one of them wears medium armor. The other two wear light. Surprisingly, I believe it's the cleric that wears medium armor. Fighter wears leather. Studded, I think. Take 1d4 dex damage. Recoup on rest. Alright, so that's 2 out of 3. Our last one is some sort of creature encounter. Alright, so what's our final creature encounter going to be? So, we kind of had this ambush with these warriors, so I think that's good. So maybe this will be... you know what? There's no reason... I don't have to guess. We can just roll for it. I believe we're in the... Yeah, we're in the frontier. 1. Okay, well, that's going to be... Okay. Ooh. 2. Which... Let me double check. I know, I'm just kind of doing things by my head. If you watch the mapping thing, you'll understand what I just did to try to figure out what kind of creature type it was. So it's something artificial, and the first artificial thing in here, which would be under 2 result on D20, would be construct. There could be some constructs down here. Now, I know what these are. I don't even have to go looking. These are some Modrons. I know that. That's a lot. Do even a pentadrone. Let me look these guys up. Modrons. No. I know what. I should just use 5e tools. Save myself a lot of trouble. All right. All right. So those guys are got 5 hit points. They're not much. How smart they be? They're pretty dumb. They got an intelligence of 4. Which means that's animal intelligence. Duo drones are slightly smarter with a 6. The next one's tri-drone, right? I like it, so I'm gonna make like a little group of them. I'm gonna have a tri-drone in charge in case they want to try to talk to these guys. If I have I give them... I mean, I guess the guys with the intelligence 6 technically can talk, but the guys with intelligence 4 are like real dum-dums. There are some lost... This has already been well established in the campaign. There are some lost automatons that are hanging around up here. So that's who they're going to run into. So this will probably be this is less of a challenge and more of like, can you communicate with them? Because they only speak Modron. You know what language I know for sure? I'm not even going to have to pretend like I have to look. That my party doesn't have Modron. Because nobody has Modron. So do they have the ability to actually speak with these guys? Probably not. And most of them are too dumb to try to even figure out how to maybe communicate. But if I have a tri-drone and maybe a duo drone or 2, and then the rest of them are all just dum-dums, monodrones, that'll work. So if I do a tri-drone, maybe like 2 of these guys, and then I can put a ton of them up there. What if we do 1, 2, so that'd be 3, so like 6 of them? But, I mean, there's a chance they could fight him. That's why I have to balance them for an encounter. But it's unlikely that they will attack them. But if they can communicate that they are friends of Tonda, that will be helpful. Because Tonda is an automaton who is allied with them. They are looking for the way back to Mechanus. I like this. I think this will work perfectly fine. Enough that I probably won't pull their stats before the game, assuming that they will try to talk to these creatures. But, you know, it's D&D, so you never know. If you put something in front of the party, there's a good chance they'll try to kill it. There's always that chance. Modron's on vacay. We'll have 1 tri drone, 2 drones, and 6 mounted drones. Awesome. I guess we can put. They are lost. Red drone is the only with passable intelligence. 1 to their mod. And they only speak Modron. It'll be fun. This is another thing that happens a lot in this campaign that I run. One of the things that I try to do with my campaigns, especially in this world, is make language really, really important. So not all creatures and not all people speak common. There is actually no common in this world. What you refer to as common is based off of wherever the area is set. You could talk to most people, but if they picked up and decided to move way to the east or way to the west, they're going to move into a different language group where they're not going to be able to speak to people very well. So it makes sense that these creatures, even though I don't have to do that with these creatures, already don't speak common. Do I even have where they're trying to get? I think I have. Modron. Okay, yeah, I mean they're a little away from where they originally are on the map, but not too far. Because I think this makes sense because they are going to be looking for they're going to be looking for that area. Which is also quite close by, so it makes sense that they're in this area. That all works. Excellent. Could these guys be helpful? Yeah, probably. So if you're not familiar with Modrons and what they do, Modrons are from the plane of Mechanus, at least in the D&D cosmology, which is they are lawful neutral. So if they can convince these guys that the people hunting the pegasi are breaking the law, they will probably help them. But they have to be able to talk to them to the point where they understand and be able to communicate with that. I think somebody in our party has comprehend languages, but I don't think there's anybody in our party who has tongues. You can't have tongues. That's like a 3rd level spell. So nobody has tongues, so they're not going to. They might be able to understand them, but they're going to have a lot of very difficult time communicating things back to them. Not impossible. They've dealt with this many times before in the campaign. They just have to be a little bit inventive about how they how they do that. Essentially, if they do these really well, if they get through all of these 3 encounters with just amazingly, they just skip through it, they're going to get this Pass Plus where they're going to get to the Pegasi pool before the other adventurers. If they get 2 out of 3, I guess. Yeah, I guess 2 out of 3 would be a pass. If they do 2 out of 3 pretty well, then they are going to get there as the adventurers are capturing a Pegasus to shear. And if they just kind of biff this one, they're going to get there after the other adventuring party has already captured Shorn and chased off the Pegasus, the Pegasi. If they decide to talk to these people, they're going to learn about the other adventurers. They know that they are not the only people who are going after this. These people can probably also kind of give them some insight as to where to look, that sort of thing. So there'll be a little bit of like social aspect where they can talk to some of these people. Like that will work out perfectly. And then they're going to get to pools. And we'll have some info pools, and obviously there's going to be some sort of rival adventuring party there. So if that's the case, we want essentially a combat that's going to be roughly 4 other creatures. On a pretty balanced thing. I don't really care much about creature type. Go. Oh, right. I gotta remove the filter, or else it's just gonna keep giving me Modrons. There we go. All right, so we need something that's probably like 1/2-ish. In the half CR area. We're just going for CR right now, so it doesn't really matter what things we pick. Okay. 4/2 CRs is about medium. I like that. What we want to do, we want to only look, why are we doing this? Let's just do this over here on 5e Tools. Reset everything down to 1/2. Which gives us a lot of options. Ooh, a young hill giant would be fun. I think it'd be fun. As a bonus action, yeah, you can move up to its speed towards a hostile creature they can see. Yeah, that's maybe a one who's like holding down the Pegasus. I like that. There's some thugs down here. Those are always a good skulks, soul flyers, shifters. Got some scouts. Scouts are good. We can have our big brute, so we can have our. One of these is better. No, these are going to be almost the exact same, aren't they? Creature. These are essentially the same. This is just a reskin of the same character. Or Zorbo. No, not gonna do that. We could have this guy. We could have this big ogre. I like that. Somebody who doesn't have a lot of hit points, though, is the thing. What if I kick it up? What if I kick it up? What if I split it up a little bit? What if I go to 1? 1. Add the fairy dragon. Add the fairy dragon. Yeah. Thinking cap on. That way that allows us CR1, that'll give us something that's a little bit beefier. Because this guy just doesn't have enough hit points. I like him, but he just simply does not have enough hit points. But I like making it a giant. I think that's fun. What are... it doesn't matter. And we'll swap our CRs up here. Cover Sage. Fun. Because either the number one needs to... The CR1 either needs to be a big beefy boy, or needs to be a spellcaster. Sort of a mixture. But I do kind of want to make use of a giant, because they are in kind of a giantish area. The old Thought Spy. Freaking ruffian. Right. Let's look for a giant. What do we got for giants? Ogrelon, Ogre, that's a bit closer. Yeah, so that guy gives us 52 hit points. Much better. Ooh, that lack sucks though. I might swap him out for that great axe. How's a dude who's large has a battle axe that only does a D8? That makes no sense. I guess they're all technically using medium-sized weapons, which is not right. At least the Ogrelon, like the Young Hill Giant, like they are medium. That makes sense. But this ogre's large. You should be using large-sized weaponry. So that would be a change that I would probably make, which might make this much more difficult. But I'm okay doing that because this is only a medium structured encounter. So if we punch a little above our weight, that's actually okay. Or we could use the troll limb. Actually, the troll limb's already in the adventure that's coming out, so I don't need to worry. Yeah, I like this ogre. I'll probably take this guy. Like that. So if they get there and the other things are already gone by, they might have to do. They'll still have that opportunity to collect some sacred water, but they will miss out on their side quest to. That's the failure part. They're going to miss out on the side quest to be able to like get the hair for the side quest and get paid for that. But they can still get what they want. They just won't have a chance to. If they do really well, you know, maybe they talk to the pegasi. Maybe the pegasi are willing to help them as, you know, like the giant eagles, and maybe just fly them to their destination. That would be pretty sick. I could drop them down into like the bowels of the wisteria tree, and they can have a fight inside the tree up in its bowl. That'd be cool. I'm down with that. That's pretty rock and roll. And a nice little fantasy epic thing that they can do with there, and then maybe there's a little art area they could access that they didn't know about. Very cool. I'm getting a little ahead of myself for the prep because who knows if they're even going to get there in time. But all right. Good thing about prep is like let that percolate back there. Maybe that's a maybe thing that might happen. Some humanoids, and we need to go down to 1/4 and 1/2. So we need one half guy and 1/4. That and 2 1/4s. The thug could do that. The sage is gonna blast him with some magic. Spellcasting. The sage casts one of the following spells using intelligence with their spellcasting ability, +6, DC 14. None of these are attack spells. I guess shocking grasp, but I don't love that. I want somebody like sneaky who can do some shooting. Maybe this wood elf. These would be good. Yeah. So I can put like a big tough guy in the middle of the fight. I can put this skirmisher, this wood elf on because they have Master of the Wild. They're gonna hide so well. They're gonna be hard to find, and so they can kind of do a little sniper thing kind of going on. And then I can just have some mooks in here that are 1/4s. I like that. I can make these the apprentice wizards. That'd be fun. Maybe one of them. Drow scouts are pretty bad too. Baxi minstrel. Oh yeah, I use these night blades in my solo campaign. These guys are awful. These guys are super terrifying. Nearly got my PC killed. As long as the Nightblade is not incapacitated, hostile creatures within 5 feet of it gain vulnerability to piercing damage, unless they have resistance or immunity to such damage. Now, why these guys would be in there, I don't know. These guys could be fun, like Roving Scout. And Battlehammer Dwarf. I'm kind of like, there's a lot of stuff to kind of put in for a one-off fight, but it could be fun. Ooh, if I put in a... Oh, and they got a 20 AC in 19... Dang, dog. Yeah, one of these frontline medics. I'm essentially making it a combat encounter that could just straight up kill my party, but making them feel like they are an appropriately matched kind of team of adventurers. I like that. So we're gonna have all right. So we're gonna have the Overlong Ogre, and that's CR1. I think we're gonna have the Wood Elf, our CR 1/2. We're gonna have our frontline medic is CR 1/4. The only trepidation I have about adding the frontline medic is the frontline medic has plate armor. So one of my PCs will probably want to get their hand on that, which is not a terrible thing, but it is. I mean, it's expensive stuff. I'm probably gonna make it be like, you guys are gonna have to, if you want this, you're gonna have to get it resized for you. I don't want to just give it a throwaway battle with it. Something super nice like this without doing anything for it. But yeah, that's gonna be tough for them. Somebody who's there to like heal and do some stuff like that. They get aid, right? They might have already cast. All right, so we got kind of a ranger roguey kind of person. We got a big tough guy. We got a healer. What we are missing is somebody arcane. First year student. Magic flare, spellcasting, mage hand. That's okay, but that's 1/2. I want 1/2. I need something 1/4. Could use this Tabaxi minstrel, but I'd like something better than that. Nocticus wizard. Firebolt, mending, burning hands, disguise self, shield. Skirmisher. Cobalt Tinkerer does some fun stuff, right? Alchemical flames. Sprung, Aragon. A Booyag caster. Goblin can cast a randomly determined first level wizard spell once per day. I'm probably gonna need more than once per day. Here's our apprentice wizard. Mage Hand, Prestidigitation, Arcane Burst. This is very similar to Aspirant. Barovian Witch. Third level spellcaster. Wow. Mage Hand, Prestidigitation, Ray of Frost, Ray of Sickness, Sleep, Tasha's Hideous Laughter, Alter Self, Invisibility. Oh, ability and Alter Self is pretty cool. Yeah, not super useful in combat though. So, not that it has to be all combat all the time, but this is what we're going for with this one. Yeah, I guess I'll use that one. I think I like that one better than Barovian Wit. Oh, it doesn't matter. That's half anyway. So it's really down between these two guys. Okay, but like, what is there? Great. So he has Firebolt. What is his to hit with Firebolt? I'm gonna guess it's +4. Yeah, we'll go with the Princess Wood. Why not? Which of course he'll have Mage going. I'll need to pull those. Or I could totally just decide to not use that guy. I might not use an arcane guy, which I would also be okay with. Anybody kind of jumps out as being fun. What? Booyog Wielder has access to a necklace of fireballs, circlet of blasting, or the like. Learned how to use it. Or they only get one use of Scorching Ray. So the necklace of fireballs is a lot. That can kill an entire party. A 1/4. And if they get hit with fire, they can explode. Which would be fun for the party, but don't necessarily want to put that in the mix if they are potentially holding on to Pegasus. I don't want them accidentally blowing that guy up. Okay, yeah. One's enough, I suppose. Oh, this guy does spellcasting too. He's not particularly different in any sort of meaningful way. Alright, we'll go with what we have. The only difference is that technically he'd be a halfer, which is fine, I guess. Not really that important. Alright, so that's what happens. They'll do that at the pools. Adventuring party. These guys here. Obviously, there's going to be some testing. Maybe they're going to have them, maybe not. If not, they're going to be on their way back. They've already done the pegasi. And we'll give them some sort of check to notice the waters. What does that make sense? Hey, I would take a religion or a nature check. Or waters, say, I guess holy property. Or I'll say radiant property. Should they need it. And then from there, as at least told by my group, it will be heading west All right, so if they get past plus, it'll be probably likely combat. Combat with group. So if we get there before the other adventurers, they'll have this will be the only way that they'll have an opportunity. There's a chance they could come back, I suppose. When in doubt, roll for it. Would they come back afterwards? Yes. Okay. Get the group. Take short rest. I'll say it's like a 50% chance. Turn. Oh, you know what? That was silly. We could do better than that. If the group takes short rest, 50% good. They take a long rest. I don't know why they would take a long rest, but if they take a long rest. I guess I will definitely return. So even if they totally F this up, there is a chance that if they hang out long enough, they might come back. Now, are there any things that might happen if they hang around too long? Maybe. There might be bad things that happen further on in the adventure. I don't need to think about that right now. I will just note that down. And be like, we'll say time detriment. Not detriment. Time detriment if they wait too long. Yeah. So when we think about how much do you need to prep for a session, we've got like 3 to 4 things that they're going to do during this. They might get through all of this. If they do, they're going to go immediately into going towards our travel to Blighted Grove, at which point I will grab this and we can just walk this over. 1 for 1. I don't want to do too much more, because if I do too much more, I start thinking about like, oh, what happens once they get there and stuff. It's like I said, there is a chance that maybe they do like a giant eagles thing from Lord of the Rings, where maybe if they just really kind of knock this out of the ballpark, that I guess I might agree to fly in there. There's like 5 in total. So I don't want to go too far in advance. I already know, because I've already rolled for this stuff, as to what will happen. But now they are going to change course a little bit. So once they're leaving there, where are they going? Oh, they're going to have to go the long way around, aren't they? They're not going to have a way to do that. All right, well, interesting. So in fact, I'm just going to take all this and delete it out. We'll be making stamina checks. Stamina checks is the thing I do, if you're not familiar with this, because first time you look at it or you haven't seen any of the solo RPG stuff, that I used for doing hex crawl, rather than being like you can move X many hexes in a day. It's like every time that you move a hex, I roll a d4, I add that together, and once it reaches their current, they're like basically take 10 or passive stamina, which is their constitution saving throw. Then they have to actively start rolling for saves. If they fail one of those saves, all that means is that they take a level of exhaustion. So taking 1 level of exhaustion, not too bad. It's just kind of the, hey, now you know you should probably bed down for the evening. Because remember, if you do an extended rest, you will recover, do a long rest, you will recover 1 level of exhaustion, assuming that you have food and water and sleep and that stuff, which they will have the opportunity to. Or you can keep pushing yourself. If you do that and you keep making checks, you get to keep going. If you fail another check, you take another level of exhaustion. We're using the 2014 exhaustion, not the 2024. It just gives you like a -1 to stuff. Then it's disadvantage on all ability checks, half speed, disadvantage on attacks and saves, half hit points. What is it? Half disadvantage on ability checks, speed is halved, disadvantage on attacks and saves, maximum HP halved, speed reduced to 0 is 5, and if you hit the 6th level of exhaustion, you just straight up die. This has never happened. Really, the last thing that Zarnak was just healing from was the lowest they've ever gone on exhaustion, and that was under a time crunch where they were like, we really have to get back. And that one got to the 4th level, I believe, of exhaustion, because they were really under a time demand, so they really had to basically force march themselves overnight. Get to where they were trying to. That's also where they picked up the donkey, because the donkeys, getting the mount helps you with this a lot. Helps a lot. Okay, so that is the situation. I like this. This will work. Break. 2-page break here. So I have an idea of what we're looking at. This will all work out really well. I think this is going to do super swell. I could build out more, but the scum thing's going to take probably a while. They're probably going to fart around a little bit, as players are wont to do, as groups of D&D groups are wont to do. Screw around a little bit. I'll probably deal with this bear trap ambush, which will probably turn into combat. Doesn't have to be a combat, but it will likely turn into combat. You can also have the opportunity to learn about some of the other adventures that are going. Oh yeah, I was going to do that. I'm going to change this to Virgin. Maiden Call. I was like, oh, we can do better than that. Of course, they are drawn to the virginal. So if we do a Virgin Maiden Call, which will probably just be like one of these warriors is just female, young and female, trying to draw their attention, and then they'll have the horsemen that'll bring them in for the bear trap. And then they'll get grappled, take the D4 dex damage, which they can recoup on a rest. Short rest, or I guess I should specify that. I'm sure I will probably remember, but just in case. Actually, they will short or long rest. They will do that. So, we'll be blighted. I'll head off to the grove. We'll figure out if this is time detrimental. I can figure that out later. Yeah, I think that's it. I haven't done my foreshadowing. This is usually like some sort of like evocative intro thing to kind of give me some information. So we'll do that when I get back. I'm going to take a short break and read coffee. I'll come back. We'll knock that out, as well as the weather. And if we have a little bit of time left over, though we are really a little bit shy on time, we'll do that. I have some other stuff I've been working on for my old setting, so I'll probably do that and answer your questions if you guys have questions. But let me take a quick break. I'm going to refill up on the coffee, and I'll be back in a few minutes. Hang in there. Alright, I have returned. Doing. Pop back in. Anymore. Probably not gonna need that. Famous last words. Okay, here we go. Okay. See. What's that? All right. So we were gonna do our point of order of foreshadowing. It's kind of just the group heading off. Let's find out what the weather is gonna be. Got to is reasonably cool, calm, and cloudy. So I'll throw you over. You guys gotta look up the weather hex real quick. There we go, the weather hex flower. All right, excellent. We're gonna roll a d8 on this. I rolled a 4. So we're starting at 8. We're starting right here. Now at 4, so that's down there, which is gonna be down to 16. Well, I guess technically good. Yes, it goes down to 7. So it's going to be hot and breezy and clear. Lovely. That's it. So this is the way that I do the weather. I usually try to start weather with a certain aspect, and then when I get about halfway through the session, like time-wise, so let's say that we play for 4 hours, once we get to about the 2-hour mark, whatever that next scene is, then usually I just transition weather during that, so it feels like the weather's always moving during the session, and then next session start it up and roll again. Very nice, easy way to kind of show that happening. Will any of that be important for this? It's going to be calm and cool and cloudy, and then it's going to be hot and breezy, but breezy is not enough to do anything like give you cover from arrows or anything like that, and no indication with light. So it's really going to be pretty favorable for them to traveling around, which is good because up until recently, it's been raining like cats and dogs, real bad. So we're finally out of the extreme rainy area, where a bunch of storms and stuff. And now we're into the area where the weather's kind of nice for a little. I'm sure the player characters will. All right, so it's just kind of about where we are at. And the group out in the morning. Technically, they're going northeast. Northeast. Keep working. Latent mud into the marshes and mangroves. Ooh. We should probably add something about the actual weather. I guess we could just say it at the end. Is warming, cloudy, the cloudy, and that's just something I like to read some stuff like this at the top of the session, just kind of like the focus up part and be like, all right, here's our little like our read aloud text for it. As the group sets out in the morning, northeast from Bayfarrow's Keep, working through the latent mud out into the coastal marshes and groves. Weather is warming, cloudy, Because I wanted to say something about their new pickup NPC. Charles Rogel. Head northeast. Really needed the from aspect. Breaking through the light and mud into the coast. There we go. I think that'll be enough. It's usually like 2 or 3 sentences is really all I write. The group sets out from the keep in the morning with the addition of Charles Rogel. They head northeast, trucking through the light mud into the coastal marshes and mangroves, searching for the pegasi. Weather is warm and humid, but complete song. It's one of the things where when I might introduce something like that, before as everybody's trying to get in character, I might ask them, what are you guys talking about as you're walking around? Because they know that this place is only like an hour or so away, so it's not going to take them very long to get there. An hour or 2 away from them. It's sort of just, what are you guys talking about in the morning? And as they finish up that, I will let okay, plus to our stamina. I add to their stamina because current stamina 0, 0. That's what they'll start the day out, fresh day. Then they'll go up to 4. They'll already put them on pretty good track to get there. And they know that they'll have hit sort of the search area as they're kind of looking through Arian zone kind of things with a lot of brackish water. And they'll know what they're looking for, and then I'll just start going through stuff. They'll be like, oh, area accepted to avoid, so they're going to have to do things like, I'll roll it against probably the perception check. I should make that notation. This is the thing that I do, and feel free to steal it if you want. One of the things I dislike about things like dungeon delving and things like that, and the way that perception checks and investigation works, along with passive perception, is that passive perception is not utilized super well. They don't really like the rulings that D&D designers should set around it, where it's basically like a floor of what you can roll. Where it's like, oh, well, if your passive perception is like, for example, a good example of this, my ranger that I play in another campaign now has a passive perception of 22. He's a 9th level ranger. He has expertise in perception. He's real good at it. So he has a 22. So you're saying that anything that jumps up that might be hidden or stealthy or hard to see or hard to notice or whatever, I cannot roll. If it's 22 or less, the DC of that, I just automatically will see it. I don't really like that. One of the things that I've done is that I've turned around like traps and obstacles and hazards and things like that, like this repairing pool, the scum skin, and being like, we're going to use your passive perception always, with the assumption that you are adventurers and you are always kind of on the lookout for danger. Now, if you're looking for something specific, that's a different story. Unless you tell me, I assume as the dungeon master that you guys are generally being alert and kind of paying attention to what you're doing, because you're in dangerous areas doing dangerous things. So with that in mind, I now roll active stealth checks against those DCs. So now, even though narratively, it doesn't make sense. Like, does this pool of water do anything active to actually stealth around them? No, we're just inverting things. So instead of you making active checks against a passive stealth for the thing, I'm using your passive stealth, so you don't know what I'm rolling, and so you won't know it until it happens to you. So either you see it or you don't. And this is one of the things where I will ask for the marching order. So if I ask for the marching order of the group, and then I know everybody's passive perceptions, I will roll. Honestly, at this point, I don't think I have their passive perceptions noted. I'll just ask them what their passive perceptions are. Or tell them what my result is, because I'll roll this stealth check, and let's say, like, all right, I get a +2 to this check. I roll DC 10, which is what the DC was for the scene anyways. Like, hey, does everybody make that? Then everybody's going to see this. And you go, oh, well, then this doesn't really do anything, right? So, okay, they saw the thing. Great. There's still, the way that we set this up is like, you don't know where the edges of this thing is. How are you going to get across it? Because it's in the way of the area you're trying to get to. Oh, we're going to go around it. Great, you're going to go around it. If you go around it, that just takes extra time. Just letting you know. And so then I know it's like, oh, well, if it takes extra time, there's more of a chance that they're going to be down in this bottom section. Like, if they want to pass it without taking, like, any sort of risk out of it, that's fine. Safe is not a problem, but safe does take time. So while it's not a pass, if they decide to do something like that, they might not get pass plus, regardless of how they do in the other two challenges. Even if they totally ace the bear trap ambush and the Modrons on vacay, they're still not going to get pass plus. You're like, you got here just a little bit too late. You're going to be coming upon them when the adventurers are in the process of capturing things. Like I said, I think I'm going to have that big giant actually, like, grappling it, trying to hold it down while one of the others is trying to shear it. Probably the wizard, I guess. Maybe the medic. Actually, the medic probably makes more sense. So they can do that thing. Now, knowing my players is that if this becomes the option, they might assume that they have captured the Pegasus, and feel like we want to chase down those adventurers. This is the thing. I like to leave lots of room for me to improvise. So I'll be like, if they decide to do that, cool. I'll improvise something for them to, like, chase down and make some, like, wilderness checks or something to be like, you chase them down, or if you fail, you get to an area where it seems like, oh, maybe they've gotten everything they wanted out of it and let it go, and you find some strands of gray mane or something that's left behind. And you're kind of back to square one. There is also a chance after they do this that they decide to not go to the Blighted Grove, that they are instead going to continue heading northeast and try to talk to the satyrs. There's only a chance the satyrs are going to be there, though. But if they talk to the Modrons will probably help them find... They'll certainly be able to... Well, they can't help them find it. They're lost. How could they help them find... If they knew where it was, they wouldn't be lost. They are lost. Split off the main group. So there's more of them out there, because there is another point of interest that has them there. Doing it in here, and I can kind of stick around in here and continue. It's like a piece of art. It's never really done. I can always pick at it and change some things and move things around. But I'm going to be done with that for now. And we're going to say that this is probably going to be good enough for our session. The only thing that I need to change is this. Get this out. So when's the day of the week? Oh, did I put it somewhere else? Here. I can look at my calendar, but I think I have done a bad job. It's not There it is. Inside. Spring Mother 23, that's the middle of the week, is Wednesday. Which is something I should probably note down. Fire State Market. Not important. Not really. Just need to know what day of the week the market is. Alright, this is done. We are done here. I will move on to... We have a little bit of time left. Not a ton. But I can show you what we got. Of course, if you guys have any questions, feel free. Before we changed our language. Oh, here, and I'll show it back. Oh, here we go. So, if you're looking at this, this is a world building resource and race and ancestry, because that is third nomenclature. So this is a silly spreadsheet where I have marked 1 through 60 is my world map, my atlas map, and shows where currently most of the most common like resources are being cultivated. As for us, we are down, we're on 30, I think. I think that is about where we are, if I remember correctly. So that would be the area that the campaign is in right now. So I got a bunch of stuff that's being... Now this doesn't take into account anything like the climate. Like the biome they're in. Which obviously has a much larger impact. But what I wanted to do is jump down here. Because this is something I've been working on. So this is the same thing, except this is the spread, the distribution of ancestries in the world. Down here. There we go. So I've been trying to do it because over here I'm trying to make the roll tables for it. Where I use a D100 table to figure out for like NPCs what kind of ancestry they are based off of what I got. So as you can see, I've done a fair bit of it already. Not quite half. Quite half, but we're getting close. Alright, so we got halfer and half elf. Actually, I've already summed these. I just need a little cut. I need 6 divided by 25. 24% halfer. 24. 4%. And we've got another 24% half elf. Like I said, this is very close to where we are. Where I've chosen to do our campaign. And when it comes to running campaigns like this in this custom world that I've been building for a very long time and I use for kind of the basis of most of my campaigns, I really just kind of like take a finger and like point at a place on the world on the atlas map and then use the campaign as an excuse to world build in that area. So I did that. The thing is, as you might know where the cursor is, I happen to pick an area where there are just not really any humans, and that's interesting. I've never really run a campaign before that wasn't very, or in a world that wasn't very humanocentric. So humans just kind of aren't around very much, which is very interesting. So you really get to see how the other ancestries deal with each other when humans aren't around. Especially when we're in an area where halfers, again, which are sort of all our small races combined, are one of the primary races, like one of the majority races or ancestries in the area. Right, and we've got 16 for sword. still pretty common. Then we got some 3s. We got dwarves. Not seeing tieflings. We're just now poking back into the area where there are quite a few dwarves. Let's see. And tiefling. And if we have any left over, that just goes into other. So plus 24 plus is 100. So about 0% others. And 25%. All right, and then we jump into the area where half elves kind of take over the main stage here for a second. By the 26, so 30%. Here. Divided by 26. 23. 4. Bring us to 4, which go 15%. Got dwarves and people. And what is the total of that? 30 plus 3. 7 plus 7 is 97%, so we got 0.3% others. And that's any miscellaneous ancestries, including sometimes monstrous races, would fall into that. This is super helpful for me because I'm like, as you'll notice, like I thought about putting that tabaxi minstrel in the encounter. And so if you look at something like this, like the tabaxi would definitely fall under the other ancestries. So if we were, say, in this area, where there's 0% of it, others, would be like, it would be super rare to see somebody like that. That means less than 1 in every 100 people you see is not one of those primary ancestries. So not a lot of them around. Go down here, doubling up on the 8s. So we got about 25% heifer. Right there. Oh, no. Yes, no. So back on equal footing. Got 6 for dwarves. I'm at 19%. And we'll have our elves back. %. Divided by. And we've got 4% words. All right. Oh, no, that's why. Because I did this wrong. Two. 3 for tieflings. For 6%. I think it's gonna leave this. About 4%. Now you'll notice like this column tells you the total for everything. So there are some areas where you've got quite a few. We've got up into the 40s. Kind of hangs out a lot in the 20s down here. Then we get into the 30s and 40s. Back onto once we get to like the eastern continent, where there's a lot more population. So it's really kind of the like the middle continent, this central continent, has kind of the least amount of people, density of people living in it in general. Is a total function of the population. I realize on this stream I have not shown what that looks like. And our music has ended. Oh well. Probably time to call this quits. Oh, no. How dare you? I think what we'll do is we'll finish out through this bottom right here, and then we'll call it quits. One of these things that's just nice to work on when you got a few extra minutes. All right, we got. Okay. All right, hold on. Oh, my bad. There we go. All right, so we have 8, 31 again, 5%. Going to be very similar. 1. We have the same totals for those. And then things are going to get a little weird because we're going to go down to 2. I guess technically we go up to 3 elves. 9% of the population. Elves. And we got a bunch of 2. 6% for is Florid, Nasi, and usually try to put them in alphabetical order. Sometimes I forget what I'm doing. I'll do that. Right, and we got another 4% there. And we'll again be another 25%. Heifer. You come through this area that's very sort of like half-er and half-elf dominated. mostly half are dominated. Which makes sense. This is very much the area they're in. There are a lot of small folk in the area they're in. Significant portion of the population, with half elves being the other. You might notice that the rollover from humans and elves is not fully aligned with half elves. They're slightly off skew. There are narrative reasons for that. Right, so that was 886. All going to be pretty simple. But we do get the inclusion of Giantkin. You know what? I can just copy these. They're all going to be the same. Then we're going to get 3% our Giantkin. Again, that is like Elias and Furbolgs and things that are like that. If we were playing something like Mole, I'd probably throw Mole in there, though that's a Dark Sun ancestry. Those would all fall under Giantkin. Overrid it because I copy pasted. Yeah. Means our final total will be 25 plus 25 plus 18 plus 6 plus. Okay, so there's going to be only 2% others. So the way that implements is I know you're not, but this over here is the roll table for ancestries I have. So that way, if I do percentages, that means that I can always roll a D100, figure out the ancestry of an NPC, which is helpful. And then when it's others, it gets to be my choice, whatever I want. Means I can make them as weird or normal as I want to. So I might make that a human in this area, or I might decide that's a tabaxi, a turtle, or whatever I want. A Shatterkai. Usually I'll pick something that seems like it's probably related to whatever they're doing at the time. If they were messing with Shadowfell stuff, I'd be like, maybe I'll make it a Shatterkai. All right. Well, that is it for today and for the stream. Thank you for hanging out with me. Hopefully this was useful for you. If you like this kind of like and potentially subscribe. And if you want to help me along with no money, just for free, leave me a comment. That's always appreciated. Helps kind of push this content out to other people. There's other links down in the description if you want to check out my coffee link or Drive-Thru RPG where I have some pay what you want stuff if you want to check that out. As well as the website, which is RedRaggedFiend.com. Check out all of that. Let's see, other things. We're going to be back at this on Thursday. And oh, I don't have the stuff with me. We're going to be looking at some more of the free RPGs Day stuff. I think this time we're going to be looking at Plague Bear and All Bets Are Off. So if you're interested in the Everyday Hero system, which is very similar to 5e, but also is a modern day system. So if you want 5e with guns and a casino heist, that's what we're going to be looking at. And then Plague Bear is zombie apocalypse in medieval-ish times with magic and stuff. So if either of those excites you, check it out. They're both totally different systems. One's pretty close to 5e, one is not. One is a dice pool, so very different. That's it. On Saturday we should be jumping back in and doing our solo RPG. So if you want to see a lot of the stuff that I did for this prep, and you want to see like the tables of stuff that I roll on that was maybe not so clear here, we'll be looking at a lot more of that stuff when I do the solo RPG. We see our characters cross into these uncharted borderlands where they will try to find a spot, try to keep Reed alive, which has been a hassle thus far, and try to find a place where they can stake their claim as a new noble and try to bring this lawless land under the rule of the principality, or the Furstentum, technically. But that's it. Thanks for hanging out with me, guys. I'm gonna see you guys real soon. All right?